All right, welcome to the March monthly market report. So grateful for everybody that joins each month for the monthly market report to be the most educated professional on the topics that matter in real estate.
All right,
Over the next probably half an hour or so, Kate Resbeck and I are going to take you through several things that I think are very, very relevant, very, very important for this market. We're in a time right now where there are a lot of questions, a lot of concerns, and a lot of uncertainty. And my hope is that through this information, we give you what you need to be the expert for the clients you serve. So I'm going to hop in. I'm going to share my screen like we always do and get started. And I have this quote here from Max Dupree. He wrote a book called Leadership as an Art, is an Art. And the quote is, the first job of any leader, of a leader, is to define reality. I'm going to say of any leader. It says here of a leader is to define reality. And oh, by the way, we need to define reality right now in our business. And, if I were to pick a way to do that, it'd be this graphic right here that defines the reality of the last month in real estate. We started off the year and sort of seeing good buyer demand, good activity in the market. First part of February dipped down into the fives. And then as we start to hear, more uncertain economic news relative to inflation and other things, interest rates start to climb. And really that reaction that maybe we're not as far along in the fight against inflation as we thought is causing interest rates to rise. Other reasons for that as well. But let's just sort of keep it at that right now. And that's caused a lot of panic in the market and a lot of uncertainty in the market. But here's what I would tell you about this. If you think about this, you think about the last 30 days, we're starting to see this range of interest rates. We get some good news on inflation, and we're there in the low sixes and high fives. We get this sort of negative news on inflation, and it starts to send things a little bit higher, like we've seen as we're recording this. Interest rates are right there, just over 7%. And so I think as we define reality right now for our business, that is it. Now, I think there are things that we can do, and I'm going to talk about that here in a minute. The thing that we want to do and be aware of what influences interest rates is the 10-year treasury. If you look at this 30-year fixed mortgage rate, this is the same graphic as before, but in a bar chart and a line here, the line being the 10-year treasury yield. Interest rates are going to follow that, and they followed that straight up over the last 30 days. And the reason for that, I think we need to understand. Sam Cater from Freddie Mac said it really, really well. He said this: the economy is showing signs of resilience, mainly due to consumer spending and rates increasing. Overall housing costs are also increasing and therefore impacting inflation, which continues to persist. So what do we want to do in a time like this? What's in our control? How do we deliver the message? I think is what is top of mind for everybody. How do we define reality with the clients we serve, the teams we're on, those that maybe are following us as leaders? It's this. It's to remind them and remind people, maybe you know it, maybe you followed the monthly market report, that over the last 50 years, the 30-year mortgage rate has moved in unison with the 10-year treasury yield. I just showed it to you in that bar graph with the line graph of the 10-year treasury. And so we know that it's followed that in unison, sort of this symbiotic relationship with a spread between the two of 1.7%. So that, really means you take the 10-year treasury, you add 1.7% to it, you get the 30-year fixed. So what do we also know right now? We know that the spread between the 10-year treasury and the 30-year fixed has widened. I always like to think of this as a measure of fear. So we go back to what I said before, the average spread being 1.7%. The average spread going back to the first of this year, 2.7%. Almost 1% higher in the measure of fear, the measure of volatility in our business. Now, our job is we control the narrative. We get the message out there. We talk to people. We help that. We can actually do the work to help lower fear in our business. And I think that is our job right now relative to interest rates, to help educate people, to help people understand what's ahead and help them make wise decisions. There's still people that, are transacting in this market. Sometimes I think we think as interest rates rise, nobody's going to buy. People are certainly still buying, but some will look at it and go, what, we can't afford. We're not going to move forward. It will have an effect. I'm not blind to that. But what I do think is we have to understand it. We have to communicate it, and we have to help people make wise decisions. We've talked before about adjustable rate mortgages and buy downs in this market. I think they're now more important than ever. And being an advocate, being somebody vocal who talks about that is what we need to do. The thing I think that is a bigger challenge in our business, because we will get through this interest rate challenge, that is for sure. But the even bigger challenge that I see right now is inventory. And certainly across the country, I don't think there's a market that says we have an oversupply of inventory. Maybe some markets have more available homes for sale than others. But the story of the last few years, and certainly through COVID, has been less inventory. And, if I were telling that story right now, I would use a graphic like this. This is total listing count going all the way back to 2017. And 2017, 2018, 2019, then COVID comes right here in the spring of 2020, and inventory starts to fall. You see the very clear line where it starts to go down. Why is that? Then we can tell the story. The meaning of home changed. People started working in their homes, certainly going to school. Their kids were going to school there. They were eating there. They were working out. Everything revolved around the home. Interest rates sank to 2.75%, call it 2 3/4, and people jumped in and said, now we're going to do it. We're going to buy a home. We're going to find our place. We have a different need. And that started to deplete inventory across the country and fueled this market that we've seen over the last couple of years. And so, as we've seen all these people want to come in and buy and transact in real estate, and had a wonderful, couple of years and momentum in the market, and probably haven't seen a market like that in our lifetimes, maybe never will. It depleted inventory across the country. And while inventory has risen year over year, it's still below where it was in 2019. This graphic right here does a great job from Realtor.com showing the active monthly listings in the last 7 Februarys, 2023 compared all the way back to 2027. I think this is an important point. I want to pause here for a second to say this. Anytime you're looking at numbers right now, you can't compare to 2021, 2022, or even probably 2023. You've got to go back to pre-pandemic times, which were the normal times, I'm going to call it, in real estate, 2017, 18, 19. And you see, 577,000 active listings in February of this year compared to over 1 million almost in the years prior to the pandemic. So significantly less inventory across the country, and we know we need more. We know those issues out there. That's the bigger issue than interest rates. We're going to get through interest rates. This is the looming issue. And oh, by the way, month over month in this country, we've depleted even more inventory. Inventory down about 6%, January over February most recently. And you see most of these areas, most states, all states that are really between 0 and 15% down across the country. Not one that you see that's positive or, a different scenario, just about everywhere, seeing less inventory, relative to what they saw the month prior. Now, I think this is very, very interesting. And I want to take you back to a couple of things, show you a new slide, show you a couple of things that are interesting here, because if we understand this, we can help people move forward confidently. The first piece is the lack of inventory in this country has kept upward pressure on prices. That's the reason things haven't spiraled out of control like we saw in 2008. And, this graphic here we've used many, many times on the monthly market report to show single family housing units that have been completed going all the way back to the 70s. And the fact that for 14 straight years, we've been below the 50-year average in the number of units brought to market. So when you have 14 straight years of lack of building homes, then you end up with a deficit, right? Everybody rushes in during COVID due to low interest rates. You don't have the available inventory, and that causes prices to spike, right? The frenzy of what we saw, multiple bid scenarios, all of those things that happen due to a number of different reasons, but a primary reason would be the lack of available homes. And, depending on who you look at as far as a forecaster, from Realtor.com to Moody's, they would say we're undersupplied, anywhere from 1.5 million homes to 5 million homes, And people oftentimes ask what's the discrepancy between the two. It really comes down to how they're evaluating things. And we always put links to where we find this information. You can go check it out and go research either one of these a particular forecasters and say, okay, what are they thinking? But the commonality they all have is there aren't enough homes on the market for the number of people that want to buy them. Now, all of this is very, very important because I think people are hearing that. We're undersupplied in homes in this country, and we can say, yes, we are, and give them, sort of the background on that. But here's what it leads to is this graphic right here from Case-Shiller, FHA, and Moody's. How much have same home prices fallen in this country from the peak? So peak really in June of last year through December, the most recent information. This information runs in arrears because it's same home sales. It's the most accurate. It's not median list price. It's not, anything other than what have same home sales done from the peak to the most recent information we have in the trough. Fallen 1% from Moody's, 1.6 from FHA, 2.7 from Case-Shiller. Not this runaway train of 20% depreciation that some people said was going to happen, just didn't happen. A lot of that is due to the lack of available inventory, the lack of number of homes that are on the market. Now, I want to give you one other thing before I turn it over to Kate. She's going to talk about listing strategies. And I want to cover this question right here. I put this in for us to talk about on the monthly market report right here. And it's this question: should I buy a home right now? We've covered it before, but this is interesting. It's being sort of questioned right now. Is it cheaper to rent, or should I buy a home? I want to give you a perspective and some visuals that'll help you answer that question. Maybe record a video, maybe put information out there. 3 things are important about understanding this question. First of all, rent always goes up. This graphic right here shows the median asking rent since 1988. It's always gone up. Certainly in the last couple of years, it's gone up dramatically. When you buy a home, your mortgage payment remains fixed. Key piece here: rent goes up, mortgage payment, you can bring stability to that part of the largest expense of everyone in their household budget. Okay, second thing, prices go up. Well, let's look at this. This is the home price expectation survey as of the fourth quarter of this year. Oh, by the way, a little wrinkle there. They're projecting 1.6 depreciation in 2023, appreciation after the fact. And maybe you're saying, well, David, you can't say prices always go up when in 2023 they're forecasting prices to go down. Well, here's what I would say to that. Most people in the outlook would say, look, we're going through inflation. We'll get through that. Interest rates will come down over time. Well, also here, if you follow this home price expectation survey, prices may come down slightly. I'm not making light of that, but here would be my point here. If you wait for prices, you wait for interest rates to come down, what do you think everybody else is going to do? It's almost like Black Friday at Walmart. You ain't getting in, right? And if you do get in, you're getting in a fight. That's the bottom line. And I do believe that will be around the corner, and certainly not the frenzied market, but there's an opportunity now. Oh, by the way, Kate's going to cover this as well. If you go back the last 30 years, the average appreciation in this country, almost 300%, 289% in home prices. So we can say confidently, homes go up in value. Rents always go up. You can secure your payment, your housing payment, through buying a home, and it's an appreciating asset. Okay, so rents always go up, prices go up, and what does that lead to? The third point here, that is a builder of equity. We take the home price expectation survey, we take an average price of $400,000, and before I get a lot of emails to say I can't even buy a bathroom in my market for $400,000, you can use this and extrapolate it out to what it means for you. That's worth, over the next 5 years, $50,000 in equity. A much more normal real estate environment, no doubt. But as we look at the decision to buy a home, our job is to help people make powerful and confident decisions, educated decisions, but also show them the facts. Because there are a lot of people right now that are saying it doesn't make sense to buy a home. The real estate market's in trouble. Homes are going to lose 20% in value. This thing's going to crash. And it's just not true. And we can bring the truth to the market, to the people we serve. So I'm going to pause here and bring Kate in. She's going to talk about 3 ways to generate listings, and I'll turn it over to her.
Thank you so much, David. I think you said it really well. We just don't have enough inventory to meet today's buyer demand. And one of the things that we try to do when we know these things about the market is make the insights that we're bringing really actionable. So you understand how to go ahead and do something about it. What can you do in this market? How can you help your clients? How can you drive your business? And so what I want to walk through right now is 3 ways to generate listings. And that's so important right now in a market where homes are staying on the market longer and agents are looking for listings. We want to make sure that you have the tools you need to make this happen. And so it really, at the end of the day, starts with having really powerful conversations. I was chatting with an agent just the other day who said you need to have more conversations in your business than you think you do. And that is such good advice. So, what I'm going to walk through next is the top 3 conversations you need to have right now to go ahead and generate listings. So, here are the 3 types of conversations. We're going to break each one of these down one by one. The first one, diligently work expired listings. Homes are staying on the market longer. And we know that that means that listings will expire, and some have expired already. So there's an opportunity to have a conversation with someone who has an expired listing. Second one, talk with your clients about the equity they have in their homes. Their homeowners today are sitting on so much equity, and many of them don't even realize it. So, really helping them understand how their equity has grown and walking them through what that means for a move up, for a move down, whatever it may be that really fits their needs. And then, of course, reach out to people who bought homes over the last 2 years. I'm going to walk through why this is mission critical right now and how it can be one more way to have a really powerful conversation. So let's start with the first one, diligently work expired listing. Really, really important conversations to have right now. So what we know is that a seller truly has 4 options when their listing expires. They can relist with their current agent, take the house off the market, list the house for sale by owner or sell it on their own, or relist with a new agent. So when you have a seller whose listing has expired, they may decide to go ahead and relist with their current agent. They may realize, like, yes, this is the person I want to be working with. I feel supported, and they continue on. And that is perfectly fine. However, some sellers are going to make different decisions. Some of them are going to take their house off the market. And this is a huge opportunity for you to have that conversation with a seller. So, if they're taking their house off the market, chances are there was a reason they put it on the market in the first place. What were they looking for? Did they need a bigger home? Were they hoping to downsize? Do they really want to live closer to family or friends? And, some people say, you know what, I guess it wasn't my time. This isn't meant to be right now. But maybe it is. And maybe getting into kind of the psychology of a seller can really help you um, get them what they need. If they're going to take that house off the market, maybe you really can be that person who can help them connect the dots and go ahead and sell that home. Chances are their first agent maybe didn't have it priced properly or didn't have those hard conversations about what that client really needs to know to be able to sell successfully. And if you're the educated agent in this space, you can step in and help that person. Now, of course, you always, whenever you're having these conversations, need to follow the ethical boundaries of when to connect with a seller on an expired listing. But, when you have those opportunities and can be in that space as the educated advisor, you can make a difference for that person who really, really does want to make that move, but didn't have success the first time. And then, of course, listing their house for sale by owner or putting it on the market saying, I got this, I can do this on my own. Well, as an agent, you know the nuances and the complexities of every transaction, from negotiations, contracts, paperwork, everything that goes into this. You want to be able to position yourself with someone so you can take away that hassle. You can help them. You can be that expert that they didn't even know they really need. So, really showing your value with someone who's thinking about selling their house on their own, huge, huge conversation to have. And then, of course, at the end of the day, they can relist with you if you've gone through this process and shown your value. So, really diligently working expired listings as we're seeing homes stay on the market longer, it's really, really impactful because, a couple years ago, listings weren't expiring. Everything was moving full steam ahead and homes were flying off the market. And we're in a different scenario right now. So, going back to that strategy that maybe you haven't tried in a while or maybe never needed to before could be really, really important for your clients, for your future clients, for your business. Diligently work those expired listings. Number one conversation to be having right now. So, what's the second conversation I want you to step into? That is talking with homeowners about the equity they have. Let me start with this quote from Adam Data. It says 48% of mortgage residential properties in the United States were considered equity rich in the fourth quarter, meaning the combined estimated amount of loan balances secured by those properties was no more than 50% of their estimated market values. Homeowners have significant equity. They've gained it over the past couple of years. They've earned it over time. They may have more equity than they realize, and that can fuel their move. So being able to help your neighbors, your friends, your past clients understand how much equity they have, doing a professional equity assessment report, walking them through all those financial opportunities that they're sitting on that they may not realize can really power that move. So let's take a look at what some of the data points to. This is the 2022 third quarter CoreLogic Homeowner Equity Insight Report. And what it shows that over 1 year alone, homeowners gained on average over $34,000 in equity. And that's a year-over-year percentage increase of 15.8% for US homeowners with mortgages. These are big numbers. And while a lot of people are worried right now in this moment of a little up, a little down on home prices, and that could impact their equity, what we need to remember is that home ownership is the long game. And so when we talk about homeowners sitting on significant equity, it's far more than just what they've earned over the past year. And of course, we know this varies by market, but let me go ahead and show you this map, which I think is really tells a great story. This is the percent change in home prices over the past 5 years. So on average, how much home prices have changed in the past 5 years. The national average is 58.4%. So home values have increased almost 60% over the past 5 years. So anyone who's been in their home for 5 years, 6 years, they're looking at 60% increase. Now, if you look state by state and look at your local area, you can see that varies significantly by state. But homeowners likely have more equity than they realize. And so if you think back beyond just what's happening right now in the market, what we know is that home ownership wins over time. Home values, whether they go up a little, down a little in any given period of time, they recover. And what I want to share with you next is exactly how that lays out over the past 30 years, because the percent change in home prices over the past 30 years, so since 1991, a little bit more than 30 years, 289% on average for the US homeowner. Now, that's almost 300% increase. Think about that for a moment. If someone has been in their home for a significant period of time, they're sitting on significant equity. For the homeowner who wants to downsize, maybe be closer to family, look at how much equity they're likely sitting on. And of course, you can see, again, varies by market, but a lot of people are worried about selling right now because of where we are in this moment. If they saw that their neighbors sold their home, for significantly more, maybe $30,000, $40,000, $50,000 more than what they could get for it right now, a few months ago, we got to look at the long game. We got to look at the long game of home ownership and help people understand that over time, home values are going to recover, are going to continue to grow. This is what happens over time. And, there was a lot that's happened in the housing market over the past 30 years. There were some real highs and some real lows. And what we have to help people remember is the value of home ownership, the reasons they want to move, and how home ownership really grows over time. And you'd have to make an argument over the next 30 years that it's going to be significantly different. But we can learn a lot from what's happened in the housing market over time, and this map certainly shows that. So talking to people about how much equity they really have and how that can continue to fuel their move and meet their needs, really, really important right now. So third conversation I want you to have is talk to people who have moved over the past couple of years. So think those pandemic era buyers. And here's why. I want you to look at some of these headlines, some studies that have been done. And, there's a lot of people who rush to buy in the pandemic, and there's things that they would change. They bought their first home during COVID, and now they regret it. And recent US home buyers are being hit with massive wave of regret. Now, let me caveat this for a moment because I do not think that this is every home buyer. There's a lot of people who moved over the past couple of years and are thrilled with what they got. They found the home they were looking for, the space they need, the location they wanted. They got what they were looking for. Now, does every homeowner move into a home and 4, 6 months later say, oh, I really wish that I had, not settled on the yard and gotten a bigger yard, or I wish my layout was a little different, or maybe I had a bigger pantry, or I'd focus more on having a mudroom. Yeah, every homeowner is going to have some things where they look back at and say, I'd probably do some of this differently. That's very different than people who moved and have regret. And I don't think, again, this is a large percentage of homeowners, but there are people who moved during the pandemic in a frenzy. They were being outbid time and time again, and they kind of got to the end of the wire and said, I just need to find a home. And they bought a home that, maybe had some things they didn't realize, whether it was structural or issues with neighborhoods or our neighbors or HOAs or things that are happening with the home that they're like, gosh, I wish I hadn't gotten myself into this situation. I rushed. I bought out of the fear of missing out, and here I am. And so I think that there are people out there that you can talk to, and this is simply, it's having that conversation where you say, hey, I know you bought a home a couple years ago. How's that going for you? Do you love it? Get to the heart of where they are in this journey, what they're thinking, what's on their mind, because those conversations can open doors. And you may find people that you can help in this scenario. People who are like, yeah, if you could help me find the next home, I'd love that. That is meaningful. That is where you are helping your clients and you're helping your business at the same time. And at the end of the day, when you can help people make confident decisions and be that person who can get them to the place where they want to be and they feel truly satisfied, that's huge. And so at the end of the day, those are the three conversations we want to be having, talking with people who have expired listings, talking with people, everybody about the equity they have in their home and the opportunity there. And of course, having those meaningful conversations with people who moved over the past couple of years, making sure that they're happy with where they are and helping them if they're not. And what I would suggest in all of these conversations is to use the heart of a teacher. And I want to share this quote that we use often here. It says, when getting help with money, whether it is insurance, real estate, or investments, you should always look for a person with the heart of a teacher. This at the end of the day is you being that educated agent, you being that person who can help, who's stepping out into this industry to make a difference. If you are approaching these conversations, these top three conversations to have with the heart of the teacher, you're going to make a difference. You're going to help people. And I would hope that's why we're all in this business. It's to have that heart of a teacher and to really help people make the best decisions that they can, because you love that process and you love that opportunity to really help people shine. And so think about having a heart of the teacher, think about those top three conversations you have and go act on that. Because having those conversations, again, have more conversations than you think you need to have. And that's going to make a difference as you head into this spring market. And speaking of the spring market, I want to share with you that we now have available our spring buyer and seller guides. They were just released on last week, the very beginning of March. So go ahead, download these, and you can share them with your clients. They're personalized to you. You can bring them to open houses. You can send them out digitally, print them, whatever you'd like. These are gold, and they are up to date with hyper relevant information on what's happening in the spring market right now and are great resources to go help your clients. So use these as you're having those powerful conversations, and you'll be in a great place. So, as always, thank you so much for joining us for the monthly market report. We can't wait to see you back here next month.